Hi everyone. So today we're with Franco here today to kind of really touch on the topic when it comes to selling a home while dealing with a divorce.
This is where we show you the ins and outs and everything there is to know about mobile homes. It is truly our mission to transform lives through mobile homes. So thanks for watching Franco Mobile Homes.
Lately these past couple of weeks, divorce, as much as I hate to say it, but divorce has been a hot topic that we've dealt with. And I wanted to kind of get your understanding for the audience as well as how does the home selling process, specifically with mobile home, works when it comes to, sellers that are dealing with the divorce with their husband or their wives on title as well.
Yeah. So, great question. I think it's so important especially when you're dealing with divorces or anything that can kind of potentially be in a legal manner, to work with someone. It's so important with mobile homes to work with someone that specializes in mobile homes. I know we talk about that a lot in this channel, but there's a lot of issues that can come up. And it's very important to work with someone that's very familiar with this and very familiar with problems that can come up, because every divorce is a bit different. There are divorces that are just done through mitigation with a retired judge, and then there's some very nasty divorces which I've been dealing with lately as well. And you want to have proper representation of both parties fairly. I think we deal with a whole spectrum of legal cases in divorces. Sometimes these homes have to be sold privately without anyone knowing. And that's something that it really helps to have a company like us. For example, there's one divorce where we had to sell their home without it going to market. And how do you do that? How can you do that if one of their big priorities is not to put it on market? How do we maximize bringing a buyer to them? And now, because they went to us as a company, and because we specialize in mobile homes and have multiple people with buyers in mobile homes, within our network, we were able to find them a buyer that would purchase the home privately without triggering any issues. The same with regular real estate. If you're in a neighborhood and you want to have buyers in that area, it helps to have someone that's been in that area. And it's such the same with mobile homes. We want to work with somebody that has mobile home buyers in that area, that's familiar with mobile home loans, that maybe has cash buyers to help it be better, and also someone that's familiar with the park and the nature of the park and how they operate to get the home sold.
I guess I just want to reiterate, what you said in the beginning, that it's really important to work with someone that specializes in mobile homes because, can you kind of let us know, like, you know, for someone that maybe is going through a divorce right now and they really want to sell their home, what are the steps that they should take to that they can be in the right direction?
Yeah, perfect. So the first step I always recommend is having that initial conversation. Reaching out to a company like us and reaching out and finding out a few things: what the home is worth, who's on the title of the home, doing a kind of discovery meeting of finding out what is the timeline, what stage of the divorce are we in, what could a potential outcome look like if we went A route or B route. Because with a lot of these legal situations, you'll often find that money isn't always the biggest priority. And convenience is, in many cases. Having a smooth transaction is, or having this sold before the official due date is a high priority. So basically, the big first step is to have a consultation with a mobile home expert to really know what's going to be involved in getting your home sold. Because based on the park that you're in, you might be in a park that has major park upgrade requirements for you to have to put money out in order to sell. Now, in many divorce cases, one party doesn't want to put any money out, and it's the same on the other party. Like, nobody wants to take that risk of putting money in to get the home sold. Now, how do we find a win-win situation that will allow both parties to be able to take less risk, or both parties to pay fairly to get the best net outcome, right? This is why Lawyers often recommend us for their client to use because they know that we are familiar with how these divorces work. But to answer your question, the best first step is to have that initial conversation. It's usually best to have that conversation with us while both parties are there. But I totally understand in many times that they want to keep things private between each other. So if they want to have separate meetings separately, that will be that would be good enough too.
Mm-hmm. And I want to really touch back on that client that you've actually dealt with, about a week ago, where it was one of the most on the tougher side of transactions to close in Casa del Lago Park. And I really want to reiterate too is that there were so many moving pieces, right? And not only as you working with your agent, but then you also had to deal with the park managers. You also had to deal with communication with both lawyers. So can you tell us, a little bit how that went about?
Yeah. Anyways, it was kind of a nightmare client, but good thing we were prepared. but basically, we were helping the seller in Casa del Lago, husband and wife, sell their home, and there ended up being a lot of title issues. Title wasn't transferred properly. There was a private lender involved. I had to work with both lawyers, make sure that both lawyers were in perfect communication on both sides. Communication is key when it comes to divorce. If one person isn't disclosed properly, it could be, by the and it's important to know what you need to disclose and what you should disclose. Now, with everything happening in the transaction, we made sure to update both lawyer and client and both the other opposite side lawyer and client to make sure that both of them understood what was happening, what we're selling the home for, what expenses are going to come up, and what an expected timeline is going to be. We had this original plan of what was going to happen, but then we found three big giant problems that fortunately, because we're familiar with HCD and titling, we were able to fix those ASAP before their official divorce date. Sometimes we were even able to create a trust fund, which is what we did here, where the lawyer kept a big portion of the funds to be able to wait and see what the asset is or what their divorce is going to look like. Because the main thing with divorce is essentially is they're trying to evaluate who gets what. And in many cases, they need to get a proper appraisal to find out what the home is worth. And then keep in mind, in any divorce, that home isn't the only thing that they own. They also own cars. They could own a second property. And then how they divide that is really comes down to the end of the divorce. But sometimes it's better to sell the home first, have the lawyer hold the funds, and then they disperse the funds later. But every case is different. So, but communication with lawyers is so key around divorces. So, yeah. Any other questions for me about divorces?
I think that really helps, us get a better understanding of how divorces work. And like you said, there are so many things and so many people involved, and it's really good to work with an agent that understands and really communicates well with everyone involved. Because if one person doesn't communicate, then that can literally trigger everything else to just not fall in place.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that was a very tough transaction that we were able to help our clients, but at the end of the day, they both walked away with the amount they needed, and everyone's happy.
Yeah, and communication is probably the most important thing in these divorces. There are things that one party doesn't want the other party to know, and it's very important that you stay true to that word. And then the communication also is, all the emotions that are going on. It's very tough sometimes. I often feel like our job is basically kind of being a counselor, or like a therapist in many ways. It's we have to help them understand during all this emotional time, what should they be valuing? Sometimes they tend to forget what is important to them, and it's important to have someone to help you that will give you the right guidance, that will protect you as their client and do what's beneficial for them. So communication is so important, and really listening and being there for your clients is so important. too. And it helps to have a caring person like yourself and our whole team, to be able to have empathy for them and what they're going through and help them the best that we can.
Definitely.
Cool.
But yeah, that's all for today in terms of our divorce topic. Bye.
Later. Bye.